Hello, everyone, and welcome to Class in Session, the US Chess podcast where we spotlight women who are using chess not just a game, but as a powerful tool for empowerment, education, and change. These women are breaking barriers, building confidence, and inspiring the next generations one move at a time. And today I'm honored to welcome a true pioneer of the global chess community, Women's International Master, Beatriz Marinello. She was born in Chile. Now she's living in the United States. Beatriz has spent decades working on various chess initiatives that bring chess to youth, underserved communities, and she's also worked with developing chess in served or underdeveloped countries. Her efforts have helped expand the access of the game of chess, and she continues to be a leading voice for education. Beatrice is not only a very strong chess player, but she's a visionary leader. She has served as the vice president of FIDE, and she was the first female to do so for 8 years. She was also the first female president of the US Chess Federation. And she currently serves as the president of US Chess Trust, and she's a coach and full-time faculty at the Dalton School in New York City. Beatrice, thank you so much for accepting my invitation and joining me today.
Hi, Sabina. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it and your kind words about my work. And as you said, I have been involved in chess for many, many years, about 47 years. So it has been part of my life for most of my life, and I wouldn't miss a minute of it. It has been fantastic.
It's really wonderful to have the opportunity to talk to you because you're an inspiration to for women in chess, and you're always talking so kindly about finding different ways to continue supporting chess among women, but also among kids. And of course, you serve as you've been a coach for so many years. I want to hear a little bit about how you got started into chess and what attracted you to it in the first place.
I think chess was sent to me from a magical place. I started playing chess. I learned how to play chess when I was about 12, 13 years old, from a neighbor, and I went to his house. We used to enjoy talking about science fiction and playing games. And one day I went to his house and he was playing chess with a friend. And I immediately was attracted to the board and the pieces. I loved every single piece. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off the game. And I sat there learning how to play. Actually, nobody showed me how to play. I learned by watching them playing. And then I started playing with them. And I didn't think much of it until I started high school. That was a few months later. And my math teacher, his name was Luis Rojas, he started a club and on Saturdays, and I started going to his club. And I love he was a very, very good player, and he will set up puzzles and positions that they were super interesting. He will tell his stories, and I love his chess class. And then one day he said, "Why don't you go to the chess club?" And this happened very quickly. And then I said, okay, I will try. So I went to the chess club in Santiago, Club de Ajedrez Chile. And it happens that day, I was in my school uniform and I walk into the place. Back then, people used to smoke. So people were smoking cigarettes, cigars, pipes. They were all older people. And I looked at the place and my first reaction was, I need to get away from this. I wanted to leave. I went in, I looked, and I said, oh, I'm leaving. But at that point, the person who was working in the reception called me and he said, oh, there is another girl who wants to play a game. Her name is Jimena Cortez. And then they arranged a game between the two of us in a room. So we started playing. and and from that point on, I started going to the club, and then I play in tournaments. I lost every single game. I never studied chess or learned anything before other than the club from my math teacher. But I love chess. Even from that point, at that point, I really loved it, and I didn't mind losing. I mean, I did mind, and I'm a competitive person, but I understood that it didn't make sense for me to win right away. That I needed to learn, and I needed to take the time. So I did, and I continue playing until now.
This is it's an inspirational story because oftentimes, you know, when especially when we are younger and we end up losing games, there's this tendency that we want to stop, we want to change something, or you know what, and the approach that you took, although being a competitive player, is really nice and inspiring because you know, you knew that you wanted to get better. And I know you've mentioned to me that you won 8 times the Chile Women's Championship. Did any of those wins feel like in any way special to you? Is there any, you know, memory you think fondly of?
Memories. I mean, the chess club. There was only one woman. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the other girl went occasionally, and I didn't see that many girls in chess. It was a
Mm-hmm.
minority. The kids, there were a few kids around my age. They didn't want to play me because they didn't like to play with girls. And and it was like they were sort of like teasing each other. And if somebody played me and they lost, everybody would make fun of that person like it was something terrible. So it was very strange. But there was a woman, older lady, probably in her 60s at the time. Her name was Berna Carrasco, and she barely plays. She plays sometimes, but most of the time she will sit and watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that in 1939 she was number three in the world in the women world championship.
Oh.
And actually, one of the players was disqualified because of the war, so they gave her second place. It's a long story, you know, that in 1939 there was a tournament in Buenos Aires, like an Olympiad, but
Mm-hmm.
also the women tournament. They used to call it the Torneo de Naciones, which is equivalent to the Chess Olympiad nowadays. And it was at the time that the war started, and many people stay in South America, but that's a different story. But that lady was around there, was in the club, and I was fascinated by her. I love seeing her watching the games. Rather, I wanted to play because I couldn't really, you know, see it. I didn't have the patience for it. And in the beginning, I moved very fast. I didn't, you know, I made a lot of mistakes just moving fast. I was very impulsive. And then I started learning how to be more calm and taking patience, taking the time by watching these older players taking their time. But she was an inspiration for me. Um, we sort of became friends. She invited me to her house a few times. She showed me a chess set that was given to her by Fidel Castro when she
Oh.
went to Cuba to play. She
Mm-hmm.
was invited to play in Moscow. She got a lot of trophies, and I really love her story and her journey. She was a widow and living alone, and her children, they were out of the country doing studying. So this was around the dictatorship in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
So she was very inspirational for me. And then when I played the first women championship, they didn't have tournaments for girls, only the women championship. The first time I played, I was in 10th place. It's the only time that we play in a tournament with Berna, and I lost the game. Then the second time I played in 1980, I was in third place, and then in 1981 I was in first place. And then so I continued. I was extremely motivated. I wanted to do well, and this became really my passion. I wanted to win. Um, so playing with women was really good for me because I was able to sort of find a network and meet other ladies and other girls. At the same time, the trade-off is that now that I look back, I think I could have done even better if I had a bigger ceiling. You know, if I because even when I played with other juniors or young players in Chile, I could have done even better. I qualified to play with men and the invitational for men a few times. Um, so I think I could have done even better. But at the same time, I didn't know how to learn chess, and I started like becoming friends with other people who were good, and I started seeing their process. And there was one person who used to teach chess, then other people. So I became really interested in the learning part and how do you teach it. Why people are learning in certain ways. So I think even at that point, I was already, inside of me was the person that wanted to learn how to do certain things and how to teach it too. So although I was a teenager, I didn't recognize it until later, but it was there. I could feel it. That was part of my process.
This is very interesting to hear because indeed, oftentimes when you learn to play chess and you want to get better, you get a lot of us do get a bit competitive, but the fact that you develop this passion of wanting to teach it further, to continue sharing it with others, it's really nice that it came to you, because not everyone will be able to become a world champion even if you have those high goals. But I think what's important to get is just this idea that we can use chess as a means to empower people. We can use it as a strategical tool or maybe educational tool for other disciplines. And getting that from an early age is I think it's nice. Not everyone does get that, and we keep keeping the drive to try to get better is nice, but also when you think you have more tools and assets in your mind, you can do a lot of good as well. It's not just about necessarily being the best, I think. And you seem to
In
have
my
been able to.
case, it's true, but also the chess club was like a second home for me.
Hmm.
Although it was not exactly welcoming because I was a woman and there were
Right.
not many, so I wanted to, I started seeing what other people were doing, and it was one very good mentor, chess teacher, his name Pedro Donoso. But then there were others, and one of them was a teacher, and I noticed that he was trying to learn how to teach it,
Hmm.
and I was observing him. And one time he had an article, and I asked him if I could read it. It was a paper, and it was an article by somebody from Venezuela. His
Hmm.
name is Rafael Tudela, and there were two articles. He wrote one was about chess and intelligence, and the second one is what is the right age to learn how to play chess. And I thought that was so interesting because back then in the 1980s, I learned how to play chess in the late 70s. It's a long time. But in early 80s, they thought that little children, they couldn't really learn chess because they use all the Piaget, the Swiss psychologist idea
Hmm.
that that at a young age, people cannot really understand abstract concepts. Um, so then they were wondering, should they learn at 8 years old, 10 years old? They have all these questions. Nowadays, we know that the early the better, 4 or 5, they can definitely learn how to. But you have to introduce it in a gentle, the right way. You have to know how to do it with maybe mini games but back then it was that question, it was not clear. But to me, that's something that stayed with me. I mean, those two articles that somehow they didn't help me with my own chess play, playing chess, but already I saw that the seeds were there, and I don't know where that came from. I think it was something more natural. Um, yeah, I really loved the club. I loved the tournaments. Always was full of people, energy. I met different people that I was around. I was challenged in many ways intellectually, so I really loved it. And chess was so fantastic. It was always interesting,
Do you feel
and it's
that
still interesting.
Do you feel that you are attracted by it, by its creativity, by attacking chess, just the opportunity to meet more people, travel around the world? What was something that um, was most inspiring to you from chess?
I like the thinking behind the ideas behind the moves. But I, at the time, I mean, many chess players at the time, they were kind of different, eccentric people.
Mm,
And I really enjoy that too, actually, meeting those people because they were so different than the kids I will see at the school, or, they were so, um, I have friends, that they were interested in books and philosophy and learning chess. They would trade the books. I mean, I really like them a lot, and they all have their personal stories. They were not exactly like everybody else's, and so I those people, I connected with them, and I think it was a little bit the sense of being in a place where you found people that you're like a little bit like them too.
mm,
And at the same time, chess is so big and magnificent and creative and and unique, and maybe what is so many things. I mean, you can never get bored of learning chess because there's so much, and there's so many ways to look at things, and so many different possibilities. It's not just the number of moves, is the is what is what the game does for the person that is playing. Is the impact, that it has. It's so personal.
that is true. It's and you meet also a lot of characters. A lot of us are not just focused or interested in just chess. There are other things that we're interested in and can share. So it's certainly while the community might seem small, there's a lot of things that you can learn from every single every single person for sure. And throughout the years, you had the opportunity to see chess grow and this development of computers and now engines and access to information. Do you feel that if you had more access to information at the time that you were learning and growing, do you feel your mindset could have changed from wanting to focus also on education to maybe focusing on yourself to get better at chess, or what's your approach?
Um, I personally fully embrace technology. I
Hmm.
like to move with the times, and um, but at the same, I mean, if you think about it, many of us, and I don't know if it's your case, you're much younger than I am, we're maybe the last generation that knew what is to live without internet and computers.
Right.
When I grew up, I never saw a computer. I never, you know, they have a home. I can tell you, the first time I watched TV was black and white.
Hmm.
Mostly because I was born in South America, and it was different access to things at that point. But also, we so what how do you learn? I still have actually the way how I learn. I still have somebody will order the informants, or
Right.
have these chess encyclopedias. I still have those, and there were like little numbers and letters that you needed to track and look at the board. It was very tedious. It took a long time to study chess. And as I said, somebody will order the informants from Yugoslavia, and then all the kids, we will all go and make photocopies. And in my case, I will select the games that I liked and cut them and put them in my little book with the other games, to learn. Now that will be unthinkable. I mean, I wish I brought it. You would have laughed, maybe, gluing little things, trying to learn. But the thing is, what back then you learn in 10 years, you can learn now in 2 years or even
Hmm.
less. That's why young players are getting so much better at early age, because they have access to technology and information. They can train themselves in tactics.
I know what you're talking about, Beatrice. Actually, I Like I
Problem.
know I'm younger, but still, like growing up, I remember my parents got a computer. It didn't have Windows at the time. It was an Olivetti, and it had the Chess Master something, I think, or maybe some really very, very old version of Chess Base where I was putting my games, so I had to type it in. But I did see my parents having the books, like you say. They had like notebooks, and they were either writing down the lines that they had to play with different colors so that they would remember which is the main line. At least that's how my mom had it. My dad had it differently, but my mom was very well organized and having, the main lines she was playing and sidelines and lines that were bad. And they did tell me that it would take maybe, like, the informant was published once or twice a year, and in order to be able to have access to one of those, it was a huge thing and it was expensive. And depending which country you were from, if it was, let's say, a communist country where it was harder to get things, to bring them in, it would take forever to get it. Or in Romania, they would get things from the Soviet Union as well, and games and also cutting like that. So I know what you're saying. It was a lot of hard work, and sometimes maybe kids these days don't realize the amount of time that you had to put, and when you're telling them that you have to, spend in the time and arrange your things, and they think, well, that's something that a coach needs to give me. I don't need to put in the work. I feel that a lot of mindsets have changed also, from putting it a lot of the work to finding all that material and learning it because there was so little. Now, with being so much, sometimes there also comes the part with maybe being a bit more, I don't want to say lazy, but maybe just feeling that you don't have to do as much. Like, everything should be given to you. And then and sometimes we forget about hard work. Do you notice that has happened? You've spent many years teaching. Do you feel sometimes kids are
Uh,
different now
I,
than?
I think it's just different. I mean, again, it was your parents. You were born in Romania. I was born in Chile in a dictatorship,
Hmm.
and you were under the communist. I mean, it's like all maybe two extremes in a way. Um, but Chile was it was safe, which
Hmm.
is not it was a different country, and but it's a different time. You're right, but I wouldn't. I don't regret any of it. I think I learned so much, and probably if I dedicated as much time to something else, I would be able to to do other things much better. But chess was my passion, and it's still my passion. So and you saw those things. I mean, I still have my books. One day I can show them to
I
you.
would love to.
As
I
you
would love to
said,
see
I would
them.
write them by hand, not like your mom. She was much much more organized, but I would write games that I saw, somebody told me I would just do it by hand or put in a little, copy of something. So I have all, and then my lines and I still have the encyclopedias. Every time I'm thinking, oh, maybe I don't need this, I should donate it, but then I get a little nostalgic and I
Right.
keep, I will keep them.
I remember those as well, and the echo codes, right? So if you say echo codes these days, maybe many people don't know what those are. It's funny, sometimes I would teach or stream, and I would not know what an opening is called because over the time they got new names, and I would know them by the echo code,
Yeah.
So because from encyclopedias, you would have the A, B, C, D, E, and based on that, different variations. And of course, you still see those, but very little amount of people know what you're talking about.
In different
Um,
colors. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is like so. Most people probably will not even relate to this, but yeah. But chess has been always interesting. The evolution of chess has been in parallel with human development. So I think we are in a point now that chess is so big, bigger than before. It could be even bigger, but technology goes hand to hand with it. The streaming, what we're doing now, um, watching tournaments online is so fun. You know, and games. Sometimes we all love all the things. The stream. I mean, chess has become fascinating, but the process. I mean, from the beginning to the end, it has been that way. Um, I don't know what is next with artificial intelligence. I do know that, for sure, humans we have to take a different throne because artificial intelligence is much better than us. So we need to use it as a tool. And what Magnus Carlsen is doing now with a
Interesting.
freestyle chess is brilliant because that's what we need to move in different directions. I mean, I think a variance will have a big impact in chess. And talking about freestyle chess
Right,
or
right.
the Fischer random or backhouse, so all these different variants of the game, they're all fascinating and they're really good for the brain. I mean, I think that's the focus, education, and the competition is good to see. We all love the competitive aspect of the game, but I think seeing people playing chess because they enjoy playing chess is great too.
Of course. And talking about playing chess and education, when you came to the United States in the early 90s, you came here as as an immigrant, and it sometimes is difficult going to a new country, new language, having to adjust to different mentalities, the different way that people are doing things, and speaking a completely different language. Tell me a little bit about what it took for you to adjust to being here, and what attracted you to the United States, and then of course what was the inspiration. I mean, how did you how did you choose to give up, playing chess to start focusing on education and sharing your passion for chess?
Wow. Wow. Well, I came in 1990.
Hmm.
Um, and in the beginning, I wanted to play chess. I came to play chess.
Hmm.
So I came to play in the New York Open, which is a tournament that doesn't take place anymore, but it was one of the biggest opens back then in 1980s, 1990s. Um, and so I play in that tournament. I wanted to play in the National Open and I wanted to play in the World Open. So that was my dream. I never wanted to be stay in the US. It was not my intention. Before that, I used to travel. I will take a few months. I go to Europe. I play a lot in South America. I was trying to do something in Chile to build my life. I was very young. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something with chess.
Hmm.
I didn't want to do anything else. So when I came, I started playing, and then in 1991, there was a World Championship match. Actually, it was in 1990 World Championship match between Karpov and Kasparov.
Hmm.
Half of the match was held in New York City, and the other half in France, in Lyon. Um, and it was in a hotel on 46th Street here in Manhattan. And I went to see the games, and somebody invited me as a journalist. Actually, I used to write in Spanish and for a magazine in Brazil in Portuguese. Although my Portuguese is not that good, it's okay. I
Hmm.
can. Um, so then I got a press pass, and when I went there to see the games, I started seeing all these people making commentaries, and then there were all these Russians. Tal was there, Geller, the analyst. I was like, oh my God, this was like blowing my mind. All these people, that's so famous, so amazing. And just watching them analyzing. And at that tournament in 1990, I met the person who used to be the coach at Dalton.
Hmm.
His name was Tosa Jovanovic, and somebody introduced me to him. And I didn't speak English. My English was really bad. And then he approached me and he said, "Do you want to work with me as my assistant?" And I told him no, because I didn't say I don't speak English. I cannot really help you with that. And then he said, "Oh, I came with my wife from Yugoslavia 20 years ago, and I had like $100 in my pocket." The typical immigrant
Right.
story. And I love it. Immediately, I like him. I saw his warm heart, and then I said, okay. And then I started working with him at Dalton, helping him organize the tournaments, teaching the students privately. I don't know how I did it because I didn't really speak English. But he would bring Russians to do it too from Soviet Union back
Mm-hmm.
then. It was Soviet Union. So then, so that was the beginning when he started teaching. At that point, I needed to decide whether I wanted to start to do something. Like I thought about going into finances. Like I have a degree in accounting, and I wanted to. They offered me on Wall Street. They have a club where they used to have it, where they used to recruit people for trading, and I said no, I don't really want to do that. I wanted, and then I started looking. I said I want to play chess. So I played chess. I continued teaching a little bit. Then in '91, I played in Subotica in a women interzonal. I think in '91 also when I played in the U.S. Women Championship, I was number three, behind Irina Levitina and Elena Donaldson, and I think it was number three. Then I played in another interzonal in '93. Then I played in the Chess Olympiad in '94. So I was really interested, and my peak was over 2,300. I wanted to, which was very strong at
Yeah, at the time it was very strong.
I
Yeah.
was I wanted to do, but all that time I I was like maybe this is not exactly then what I want to do. And then I asked myself, would it make a difference if I become a woman grandmaster? How high up can I go in chess if I continue doing this? And then I said, no, it doesn't make any difference. I would have loved to do it. Okay. Maybe it's one thing that I wanted to do that I didn't do in my life. Maybe one time, I don't know. It's not possible anymore. But
It is. Don't say that. It is still possible.
maybe one day I would retire it and I would just play chess. And maybe, but okay, that would be unlikely. But um, so then I went to the amateur team East with some team from Dalton at the time. I was coaching the team. And I noticed that as I was more interested in watching the kids' games than my own games.
Hmm.
And that is when I realized, I said, this is what I really like. I'm more interested in how the kids are doing, the children that I'm teaching and coaching, than actually my own games. And that was a turning point for me. I realized I wanted to do more of that. And then I started thinking, okay, so if I do this, I can work with Tosa Jovanovic and work with him, do privates. Or maybe I can combine this and start a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked around. Chess in the school was just starting in New York, but it was just very little. There were only a few schools that they have chess. And then I created a corporation. And then I went to work in PS9, Anderson program, started PS6, then other schools. And I started building this business and sort of bringing people to coach with me. And I will do after schools. I started doing curriculums. I got this magnet grant to do curriculum. So like I started like looking at ways how I could build this organization. And I had a lot of success because not that many people was doing this. The other person who was doing it was Sunil, but
Mm-hmm.
mostly in Westchester. But I didn't know at the time. And then you may be saying, why did I get involved in Scholastic in 1992, I qualified, and this is going back, to play in the Olympiad.
Mm-hmm. For
And
US or for Chile?
for the
For
US.
US. Mm.
Yeah, I immediately switched federations. I knew I would come. I just went all the way. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to play. I just switched federations to the US. I wanted to stay here. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Um, and then I qualified, but the same year, a new player came from Soviet Union. I don't want to say her name.
Okay.
And the board, because I was board 5, decided that they will make an exception because she didn't meet the residency.
Mm-hmm.
They have a residency requirement for foreigners that they move to the US. They have to be living in the US and playing for a number of years, And back then was 1 year, now it's 3. And then the board decided to make her play, although they sent me an invitation letter that I was on the team. And then they called me from the federation. Bob Nassif was the one who called me, I remember. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we cannot invite you anymore, although we send you a letter because the board decided that this player will play instead of you." And he sent me flowers.
Okay, like flowers is supposed to make up for the fact that you're not playing?
Yeah, and at that point I said, "Oh, I'm getting involved with this organization. I want to get into the US Chess Federation. I
So
want to
the
know why
so
they made decisions this way,
so
why."
fate worked out kind of in a way, kind of guided your path to go into education in a way, because that didn't work out. So you.
I think I was already there, but at that point, the US chess got my attention in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started writing to the Chess and Education committee, and they never answer. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to the US Open." So I went to the US Open in '93 for the first time. Then in '94 I play in that year I play in the Interzonal too. Then '94 I play in the Olympiad. And then at some point, the US Chess started looking at my work, and because I was growing this, and they decided that they wanted to do more with the Scholastic chess. And there was Sunil, Garrett Scott, Ferguson, who was doing all this research on chess and education. They were the pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to do a search and get somebody who will work for the US Chess. So I applied for the position. 38 people apply, and at the time they didn't want to give me the position because I was a foreigner and my accent, whatever it was. But somehow I succeeded to get the job. I mean, they believe in me, and so in January 1997, I went to work for the US Chess. So I worked for them for 5 years as a Scholastic director, and I facilitated many of the changes that you see nowadays, including the National Scholastic Championships. They were bid out to different organizers. But we have so many problems with contracts, with convention centers, with organizers that they wanted to make too much money and they were not treating the children and the families correctly, and inconsistencies with rules. So I proposed to the Scholastic Committee at the time and the board, can we take these tournaments in-house? And so that cost me a lot. I have to really go, a lot of people didn't want that, especially the people who were making money from those events. And I went there and I did it. They told me you can do one tournament and see how it goes. So I organized the 1999 National Grade Championship in Louisville, Kentucky.
Close to where I live, actually.
Huh?
Close to where I live now, actually.
Yeah. The tournament was very successful. And then we had an issue with the organizer, and he's supposed to run it in 2000, elementary, but then it was a contract, so then we took it over. And we organized it ourselves, and that from that point on, the nationals became they were always the US Chess Federation nationals, but organized from in-house, which is something that nobody thought that the office could do. The main focus at the time was in the book and equipment business, and it was a different organization.
This is a very amazing, Beatrice, because I know how tough it is to immigrate to another country where these things are so different, and like you weren't even like it must have taken some time for you to learn the language and then just build on your confidence to be able to just start things on your own and make it happen, like no matter what, like you have the idea and you're going for it. I mean, it's not often that we see a lot of confidence. It's just empowering to hear your story, because I think it does make a difference in just caring more about the kids than caring about finances is not necessarily something easy to do, I think, because money is not the most important thing, but if you don't have it, how are you going to be able to make a living? So it's inspiring to hear how you wanted to make sure that those kids were treated, the kids were like you're putting in the passion for them to be able to have a good tournament and pursue chess. And
Yeah, I had a lot of ideas. It was like, yeah, I started doing a lot. I was very young. I was still in my 20s, when I got the job with the US Chess, late 20s. So, lots of energy, lots of vision. In fact, when I took the job with the federation, I took a big pay cut because the salary was not that high. But I didn't know how to drive. And I moved to New Windsor, upstate New York. I needed a car, and it's like, oh my God. And I just did it, and I moved nearby. I will walk. I will take a taxi. Then I learned how to drive, and I started driving.
So you started from your first job technically with the U.S. Chess Federation was as a Scholastic director, and then
Yeah.
you went on to become the president
Oh no.
after,
Then
or
I left like 4.5 years later because I wanted to do other things. So with a friend of mine, we created the 501c3 that we started doing chess in the housing projects in Westchester mostly, Yonkers, Peekskill, New Rochelle. And then and we started a program in Chappaqua. It was a school district doing curriculum. And at the same time, I got a job with a Kasparov Chess online. Yeah, I was always very, very active. And so I did a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And I continue working, building programs. And then I worked in Harlem for a while. Well, a while is like 4 years.
that's
A long
quite a
time.
long time.
Yeah, yeah. So I did a lot of programs. I did a lot of teaching. I was very committed to the inner city. I really believe in the concept of chess for everybody, equalities. I wanted to spread the love for the game and the passion, and I saw it happening. A lot of people. I didn't do all of this alone. Nobody can do it alone. I think a lot of people supported me. They believe in me. I made a lot of friends. I built a lot of alliances. Just so I wouldn't take all the credit for myself. And I started going to the delegates meeting every year. And then in the year 2003, I ran for the board. I was elected. The US chess was in a big crisis financially. I wanted to do more for the children. That was my goal. But I ended up going to an organization where it was broken and it needed to be reinvented. So I think that's why I became president, because probably everybody thought that the organization will go bankrupt. And nobody wanted to take this. So I decided, okay, I will do it. And yeah, I spent a year of my life, not working. I stopped working. I just did this I spent my own savings. I wanted to change the federation, and we did. We turned it around with the help of many people, many good people. Yeah, US Chess has a lot of wonderful people, volunteers, delegates, they're very committed people. Yeah, and I became the first woman president of the US Chess. And yeah, and the journey continued. Then I was also involved in FIDE, which is something that I didn't really want to do, but I did it to see if I can enhance the relations and build some bridges with Latin America.
This was gonna be my next question, because I know you were the first female vice president of FIDE, and during the time there, you were also involved with promoting chess in underdeveloped countries in the world, and I understand you didn't have much funding, so you were able to find ways to fundraise the money so that you can introduce chess to a lot of countries. Tell me how difficult was that? How did you do it?
Well, in some point, I became General Secretary of FIDE Americas. I was in that position for 8 years. I got to meet everybody, all the presidents and the people involved. There were many things that I didn't like, that but at the same time I couldn't do much to change them. So I wanted to have a positive impact, and then there I learned a lot. I mean, I helped write the financial regulations, the rules. There were other people, and networking, making connections. And then, when the possibility became open for FIDE to add a woman, or to actually, because nowadays the presidential board, which is no longer the presidential board, now it's called the council, or they didn't have any women, so they proposed to elect one woman, and I ran, and I was elected, and that was in 2010. Then I was in FIDE, was this big organization with all the complexities and all these personalities and egos and politics. Very, very difficult environment, but at the same time, very interesting, fascinating, And so in 2002, I proposed creating the Social Action Commission, and we created the social projects. So I became the chair of the Social Action Commission, and they gave me a very small budget, 10,000 euros a year,
It's very
which
little.
was not that much, very little money. But then I met people, like before that, actually in 2008 or 7, I met Robert Katende when he came to New York with Fiona Mutisi.
Hmm.
I took them to the UN Women because the former Chilean president, from country, Michelle Bachelet was a president of Chile 2 times. She used to be the head of UN Women here in New York. So I took Robert there with Fiona to meet to the UN. And when I met Robert, I really liked him a lot. And I said to him, when we create this commission, I will call you and you will be my general secretary, because I wanted somebody from Africa in that position. He's from Uganda.
Hmm.
So in 2002, I called Robert. So when they offered me to be chair, I offered him to be the general secretary. And there was a connection with a non-for-profit organization from the US. And then through missionaries, we started sending chess sets. I found money. You can always find money for chess sets. Ask people. I have a lot of friends. If I ask them for money, they will give it to me because they trust me. So I can easily ask people, can you give me thousands of dollars for this project? And they will do it, And so we started sending the chess sets. And then I went, and with Robert, we started training all these people. The first time I went, it was incredible because before that, somebody else in the commission, Dora Martinez, to document it. But then I went the next, like a few months later, and to do a trainer seminar. And they were like, said, okay, no white people come to these places. And now they go. And I'm not white, I'm Latina, but still, But the point is, I went there and they started seeing all these people. Some people travel 28 hours in a bus.
Where was this? In which
Neighboring
country?
countries to go to Uganda.
To Uganda.
Yeah, Uganda. And I realized they didn't have money for food. So I said, Robert, we need to buy something, breakfast for them, at least cookies, tea, some food, fruits, So, yeah, that was the beginnings. We started planting the seeds and helping these people learn how to teach chess because they didn't know. And we brought chess sets, and that was the beginning. That was my. I didn't believe in sending money. I think sending money doesn't really work. You have to really go there and do the groundwork. Like meet people, teach them, empower them, give them the chess sets, and that's the way how it has been. I have done a lot of projects like this. I organized many tournaments. I also organized 3 World Youth Championship for children with disabilities. And again, like fundraising for those things, and I always find people who believe in me. I also help from my own. But the thing is, you have to actually do something so then other people can continue. Sometimes they continue, sometimes they don't. But at least you make an impact.
This story that you mentioned about Uganda, for people who are watching who are not familiar with those two names, Queen of Katwe is the movie based on Fiona Mutesi and Robert. And I know that so I'm not sure actually when the movie came out, but you worked with them after the movie came out, and they became
No,
known
before.
from. You worked before, and
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
it became known. And did you help
It
at
was,
all to
it was
the
around the
story?
same time, but we started working together before.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's because
Yeah.
no, that story is definitely inspiring, and I do show that movie to my students, or I tell them to watch it because it is certainly an inspiring story to see. First of all, the difficulty of life that people have to face in specific countries, and then the hard work that they have to put in to get something. And only some of those stories really come to light, but there's so much more and so many more people that we can try to find ways to help. So the fact that I really loved how you said that you have to do the groundwork and go there. Sometimes when you're just delegating things, maybe some people, lose the passion in the way, or but when you have it and you go there, I think you can certainly show a bigger you can make a bigger impact in people's lives. And sometimes it's not money that they need. It's like the talk, the passion, the seeing you there, I think that can make a bigger difference. But of course, you need to find ways to get there. So it's
Yeah,
which
exactly.
countries, may I ask you, where you were able to make an impact when you were vice president of FIDE? Which countries were you able to introduce the curriculum to and start sharing
So
besides Uganda?
with Robert Katende, I cannot give him enough credit. Dora Leticia for documenting. We have all of this documented. It was her photography. Um, so basically, I went to Uganda maybe 4 or 5 times. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember exactly. We also went to Botswana. We did also a project in Cameroon. In Cameroon, it was really funny. I have to tell you this story
Mm-hmm.
because Robert Katende came from Uganda. I went from New York to Cameroon. And when we met there, everybody is well intentioned. And they were surprised that we actually came through with it and we show up. And then when I said, okay, let's do the seminar, and they said, okay, we take you for a tour and this and that. And I said, no, I want to meet the people. I want us to do the seminar. I sent them the chess sets, and then they didn't take them out of costumes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have money to take it out of costume and realize that, oh, so you send chess sets, if you send it that way, they don't make it to the countries. To Uganda, we send it through Sport Outreach, which is a U.S. organization, non for profit. They have missionaries going, so they take things like chess sets or whatever
Mm-hmm.
we send them many different items through them. Or I took them myself in my luggage. Then I have to throw them out because they were all destroyed. But the point is, so we show up in Uganda with a chess set, willing to do the seminar with Robert. Robert wanted to teach the people who didn't know how to play. I would take the other group. And they didn't have anything ready. And then, they told me, oh, other people came before, FIDE sent this grandmaster, but they just went out and have fun. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I want us to do something for the community. So then in a day, I don't know how they organize it. They have all this group of people you know, uh, ready to learn chess. And there we went with Rover. We separated the groups. There were a lot of chess people, but there were a lot more people. I was like, how do they do this overnight? And then I realized that they advertised and they said there was like a job interview. and they have all these
Oh,
people
okay,
how to
that's
play this
funny.
chess class, and I was like, oh, at least we taught them chess, and they didn't really, okay. So it's like somehow people couldn't believe that was true, that you wanted to do. So it was a simple mission. We will go there to teach people how to teach chess, give them materials, teaching materials, books, organize the curriculum so they can teach it, um, and then give them chess sets. That was the whole thing, a few chess sets too. So that was Botswana. Then we went to Nepal. We did things for orphan children. Um, we did something in France, with a lady that is wonderful. She does a lot of things for chess, for women in chess especially. Then South America, we created a project in Chile. We did a pilot that was sponsored by the Chilean government, called the Smart Girl. I'm hoping to revive that at some point, Niña Inteligente. So, Michelle Bachelet facilitated the fundings. They were channeled through municipalities. I always make sure that I don't get involved in those things, the fund. We also did it. We set up 3 pilots in different places around the country. So a lot of volunteer work, but also very good will and people willing to help and to contribute. So you see that sometimes you don't need to have a lot of money. You can take some from here. You can ask people to help you with that. Some other person, you know. So I think a drover did a lot of work and completely for free. He never got paid, pay all the airfare and the hotel. And same thing with me. We never took any money. We also brought Thomas Luther to Africa. And the relationship, Thomas is a grandmaster from Germany who was born with short arms.
Mm-hmm.
And then he inspired me to do something for children with disabilities. That was his idea. And I decided to support him, and I started doing those tournaments here. The first one in the US was a big fiasco. I was planning for a lot of people, not that many people show up. I lost a lot of money. Okay, but all right, it's done. Then I did it again. It was much better, and then the third time was much better, and we got a lot of coverage, and it was a very good thing to do. I met a lot of wonderful children and families. Um, so at that point, I was not working full time as a teacher like I am now. So I have more time. So I have.
It's inspiring, Beatrice. I feel like your story and the fact that you use so much of your life and of your time to go share your passion for chess with others. It's truly something that takes you beyond just you know being a wonderful human being. It just seems it seems really I don't know. I feel more inspired, every time I have the chance to do these interviews and hear the different women that I interview for this podcast inspire me to want to do more. I already want to do more, and I'm an overachiever, but just hearing how much you have done to promote chess and not just focus on yourself, although you still have or had goals with chess. And I think it's really something that a lot of us sometimes we lack the motivation. We may want to do it, but we lack the motivation to do it. So I have to thank you for being an inspiration for that, and just focusing on not just kids in the United States, but also in African countries, like you said. And your story with and a connection with Thomas Luther is also really really nice. I know once or twice actually when Thomas was organizing the first or the second World Championship for people with disabilities. I asked him if I could do commentary for it because I thought it is something we want to bring more attention to. So I remember I had a wonderful time analyzing those games and like I think all of us can when we have a passion for chess we can create so much and I don't know. Just I felt like I had to say how inspired I am. And more recently, Beatrice, you also you so after your time with FIDE and with US Chess and starting different programs, now you are back to the school that actually started in a way being the inspiration for you to get into teaching, Dalton, right? Like I didn't know the first part of the story. I knew you are currently a faculty there, but I didn't know that was the first place where you kind of got introduced to chess. What made you go back and tell me a little bit about how you're developing the program at Dalton there and your aspiration for the kids at the school now in your current
I
role?
will answer the question, but I wanted you to know that you're also doing a lot for Chess Sabina. You know, the fact that you are doing these programs and you're supporting girls, you know, at the nationals, and you know, your personal work is also very meaningful, and you do a lot, and you have put a lot of energy into this, and that's it shows, you know, it comes across. That's why I think many people follow you because they respect you and they care about you for what you are doing. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
no,
I
it's
try.
important that for you to know that you have you're making a difference. You have an impact on many other people. Um, I talking about Dalton. I love the school. Dalton School is a fantastic educational or institution. Um, in 2005, I have to go back all these years. David McAnulty, who just wrote a book about, you know, his it's called Sunrise in the Bronx, about his work with CS was a public school 70 in in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. They even made a movie about his life. It's called The Knights of the South Bronx. So made David McAnulty. Again, I have a lot of very good friends and wonderful friends, and that makes a difference for me. They help me a lot. I help them. So we have this strong bond, you know, connection and friendship. So in 2005, David became a full-time faculty here at Dalton,
Hmm.
and and then he asked me if I wanted to coach the team, and I said yes because we met before. Actually, he and we met in the 1993. I used to teach his kids at PS9 and the Anderson program, so he was one of the parents. And then when he started his program teaching in the Bronx, I will sometimes go and help. Same thing with Gerald Times and other people. Again, you see the connections, and um, so with David, we go back a long time. I know his work. I admire his work, and so he offered me to be a coach, but for the competitive aspect of the team. So I used to start coaching the Dalton team in 2005. It was Miron Share, Ala was here, his wife, Nelson Doom, a group, again, very good people. I think that makes a difference, the people that you work with, finding good souls, good, you know, human beings, you
Hmm.
know, that you connect yourself with, and then, you know, you feel good, it's positive, you know, it's no stress, and you can work hard, but you know, it's, you know, you're in good company. And so that's what I came back to Dalton in a way by coaching. I used to teach one class a week. Sometimes I couldn't do it because of all this trouble that I was doing with
Right,
fee
with FIDE.
projects. But David will accommodate. Um, and then he wanted to retire it. And when he retired in 2019, they did a search. I applied for the job and I got the position. But I was already working for Dalton. So Dalton has been part of my life for a long time.
Hmm.
It's a school that also has been going through lots of changes. It's an elite school that also changed the mission to make it it's a more diverse community before than ever before. So it's a big commitment to diversity, inclusion, um, to education. You know, academically, it's a very strong school too. You know, usually the high school is very regarded as one of the best in the countries. Um, the whole school, the whole program. But the first program, which is K3, is about nurturing children. And there is when we do curriculum. So I teach kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. Chess in the curriculum, everybody. Then David already had a very good program. Jovanovic had a very good program. The thing is, the program became bigger. It became a little different. We don't overly emphasize competition as much. We do win championships. We do well, but we have a very big team. It's about education, the commitment for the children to actually use their brains. And every chess lesson is connected to a specific objective. Like say in kindergarten, besides that you're introducing the basic rules, learning how to play, taking turns, fairness, being, learning how to solve, conflict resolution a little bit if it's an issue. You can facilitate all of that. So then it's never really an issue. The kids behave really well. So then there's a progression, helping them to learn pattern recognition, developing their working memory, to remember things, how to remember, to talk out loud, so it's really education. And everybody learns chess at Dalton. We have an after-school program that has about 150 children. So it's very, lots of classes. And then we have clubs. High school students and middle school, they do community engagement, community service, which is a piece that I added. We didn't have that before. It was basically, now we have middle school and high school. So the students, they volunteer to teach their younger peers or volunteer to do different things. If we do events, they come and help. They also go and teach seniors in other places. So chess is one of the activities that they use to try to be part of communities. And so the program is a little different. It's still competitive. I don't think we will not be competitive because we're still competitive. I'm a competitive person myself. But at the same time, it's a program that is mostly about community and about using the brain. I really think it's essential. The challenge that we have now with artificial intelligence and technologies to be able to actually use the brain. Think about this, and not that far from now, many people will not have the same jobs. Even people who are in universities now, they don't know what they will end up doing. There will be less jobs, it's so many things will change, and only the people who are able to think in a more creative way, people who are able to make good decisions, people who are able to organize information, to differentiate between what is real and what is not, and even then they can fool us occasionally. They may have a better chance in a society that is even more complex, and it offers a lot of new opportunities, but also it's going to be so difficult to be unique and to do something special, because we will all be sort of like in the same, program to work and to be in a certain way. And so I think the school is quite amazing, and I'm very honored to be here. So I really love this job. I miss sometimes having the time to do other things. Yeah.
Are you mostly focusing now on just being the leader behind, like, hiring coaches to teach all the classes that are being taught from elementary to middle school and high school, or are you still involved in the teaching part a lot? What is your role?
I have a passion for teaching, so I teach a lot of hours.
But you have coaches as well who help you on top of that, or is mostly you the main coach?
We're two faculty people full time. Somebody who's like an associate and assistant, but I teach the classes. Sometimes he teaches the classes when I travel. But I really take the time to connect and to know every single child. I think I know everybody, I know their names, I know how they play, I know, I know things about them that probably they don't even know that I know.
That's
Um,
impressive. That really shows passion, because when you're actually getting to know them that much, because you have, how many hundreds of kids do you have in the programs? You said you
I
have
teach
150 in the
curriculum 300 a
300.
week,
Wow.
and the curriculum, and then the after school, maybe I teach another 80.
That's a lot of names and things to know about every single kid.
I remember every chess players. We have good
Of
memories,
course.
so
Of
yeah,
course.
I can remember the names.
But I love how you mentioned you changed the focus, and you're focusing on not just winning, not just the winning part, that is more important for them to develop into being good human beings, and also use chess as a tool to continue inspiring others. So even if many of them may not end up becoming grandmasters, let's say, but the fact that they put in those times of, community service in a way to go back and teach their younger peers, I think that is a really what community does, and what we want to see. Because oftentimes, people might not want to do chess anymore, but when something has helped change your life or guide your life through a certain way, just being able to put it back. And the way people or kids learn that is from their educators. So I think when you're a good educator and you're inspiring, it continues that tradition of giving back. And I love to hear the stories where those kids are, because I know, in order to graduate high school, I think in the United States now there's a specific number of hours of community service that you have to do. So to hear that they actually do it with something that they're already passionate about is really nice.
Yeah, yeah, I love teaching, so it's a lot of fun for me to do that. Um, I think the part of the job that I like the most is being with the children, so I don't want to give it up.
Is there one thing that you because you've had so many different roles in your life so far, from being a player to coaching, like in private school, but also underserved communities or minorities, underdeveloped countries. Does each one of those roles have a special place in your heart? Do you feel more connected to one in particular, or is it hard to have had to change throughout the years from each one of these roles?
So if I look at my life back, or back in my life, everything that I have done and I don't do anymore, I think the Smart Girls program that we did the pilots. Um, I would like to do that at some point. I would like to resume. No, now I probably will continue teaching and coaching for the next years. But then I'm hoping to have the energy to do that. Um, I miss traveling, believe it or not, even in these times. But other than that, and I'm very happy with the choices that I made and the time, what I'm doing now. I really love it. I love this, what I'm doing, and being around the children is something that makes me super happy. And they have such a good energy, and they're happy. I mean, they're wonderful. It's so good to see them growing up and being healthy and using their brains and developing themselves in a nice, caring, nurturing way.
No, it's really inspiring, and being able as a woman to also continue inspiring women, I think it's great. But the immense work that you have put into education, and being able to change so many kids' life, it's definitely something that I feel very much inspired by. And I hope more people see your work, and will continue to do something similar that you do, and maybe work together with you. I'm actually interested in this, in hearing more about the project. So another time, not on this
Yeah,
interview, I may ask you
certainly.
about it, and see if I can, because I've always been passionate about chess in general. And I know when my mom was still alive, we were talking about she wanted to create various programs in Romania with continuing education and inspiring kids. So I might reach out after this. After this, Beatrice, this has been a very long and exciting interview, and I do want our viewers to also have the ability to see some of your chess, because throughout the years you have you've spent a lot of time in inspiring future generations, but you still continued playing. And I would like to share, you shared with me a couple of positions and games from your own chess career, and I would like us to go maybe talk about a couple of those moments if you'd like, and take us through your thinking process, and make bring back some memories of your own chess your creativity and such, if you are willing.
Yeah.
So the first position that people will be seeing on the board actually happened in a game that you played against Sofieva Aynur. You told me, I think it was in 1991 that you played this game?
Yes, 1991. And I played this game in former Yugoslavia. That's a country that doesn't exist anymore. And in Subotica, exactly.
And was it? It was in at the time they were not called like candidates; they were called interzonals, right? It was something similar. The top player was getting the chance to play a match against the world champion. Or
Yeah, it was a different system where from the zonal tournaments, the USSR zonal, people will qualify to play interzonal tournaments, and from there, the winners of each interzonal will face each other. There were four, and then in the end, it will be one challenger that will play a match with a world champion, and that was done for the Open and for the overall championship and also the women. So I play in two women interzonals. This is the game from the first one that I played. It was in a time where, Yugoslavia, they were at war. So it was an interesting time to be there and to see that dynamic. I traveled to Belgrade and I stayed with a family. Actually, they were friends with Tosa Jovanovic and musicians, and I got to see how people were living and their fears and everything. But I played this game with Woman Grandmaster Sofieva. I'm playing white, and surprisingly, she made a tactical blunder, and
yeah, this is a pretty equal, well, slightly better for you position, because you have the ability to maybe control the central files after maybe rook d1, and you do have a bit of pressure. I do like your fianchetto bishop in g2. She cannot go back to g7, so I feel that you were pressuring her, and maybe she felt she wanted to trade off pieces to go towards the endgame, and she played this move knight b6 in order to do that, but she missed the tactical idea, as you said. For those people who are watching, they can pause the video and try to find Beatrice's continuation in this position. Do you remember, Beatrice, I know it's been a long time ago, do you remember how fast did you see the continuation in this position? How was your
I saw it
mindset?
instantly.
Instantly, okay.
It was part of my plan. I wanted to play rook d1, as you said, and so I saw the tactics immediately. Yeah, and
So you went knight takes c6 immediately here, and the problem is, of course, if bishop takes c6, you're trading queens, and then you get to take in c6, and you want a pawn, and maybe more later here you have the bishop pair. Do you feel, I never asked you, Beatrice, do you feel that, what was your favorite part of the game? Did you enjoy more attacking or end games? Which part of the game was something you enjoyed more?
I used to at the beginning I used to be more like on the attacking side,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly because I was afraid to defend. And even now my defense is not very good. And so I always tried to take the initiative so I didn't give a chance to the other player to attack me as much.
Mm.
But
That's
over
important.
time, I think I know more chess than I knew back then, but I don't play as well as I used to play back then. That's
Well,
it happened with age and also not to practice as much. Um, but yeah, I'm more like a dynamic player,
mhm.
but I also enjoy positional chess and end games. Yeah.
You grew around the time that you mentioned Tal was when you were in New York. You did mention Tal earlier in this interview. What would you say the biggest inspiration as a world champion did you have growing up?
I think in my
Which style?
case it was Bobby Fischer.
Fisher. Hmm.
Yeah. Nowadays I like Carson a lot.
Of course,
I
me
like
too.
how, yeah, who,
Who
yeah,
doesn't?
who doesn't exactly? Yeah. But I also enjoy watching Nakamura's game, Fabiano, Wesley So, I like his. I mean, all of them, they all have different styles, but they all have something interesting to add. Yeah, but back then it was definitely Fisher. I guess the story, the mystery, but also the fact that he was like him against a system, like a one human against a whole system, and
Hmm.
I love that story. Talking about the Soviets, they used to control the chess and the world for so long until Fischer came along.
He
I
certainly
really
has
love that
made
story.
he certainly has made a big impact in chess and to the change of prize fund. I think in the world championships and just he inspired the future generations to be more mindful about bringing more finance into chess. Something that is maybe not talked about so much, but I think he had a big impact in that. What we see today is certainly something he had started probably.
Yeah, including the freestyle chess. That was his.
Right, right, indeed, indeed, his idea. So here, after queen takes d6, the bishop recaptured, and then you had this beautiful knight e7 check, discovery, and then I guess she thought she's winning a bit of material back, but your bishops are just everything is just very very strong here, and your opponent didn't really have a way to get back into the game. I wonder if she was thinking maybe to take here, but you were ready for it for another discovery with
Bishop
bishop
takes
f. Yeah,
f7. Yeah.
and she played knight b6 and then bishop b3 and she resigned. So this was a very nice tactic, kind of coming out of nowhere because really at the start of the position this just seems so symmetrical and everything, but don't get tempted to think a position is equal just because it's somewhat symmetrical. There's much more into chess, much more into the creativity than that. And taking you from that game to the next position that I have here from you, Beatrice. This game you played against Julia Horvat. You came back to play. You've played occasionally throughout the years, although you have kind of retired from a professional player to focus on coaching. And you played last year in 2024 in the Women's World Team Championship under above 50
I
or
think it's the
senior
FIDE
women's
World Team Senior Championship,
championship. Okay.
and they have two sections or categories,
Mm-hmm.
over 50 and over 65.
Mm-hmm.
And our team play. We have two teams from the US, two women teams, and like there were like four teams, from playing also other players. One selected by US Chess, and there were other players. It was a really good tournament, and really enjoyed. It's good to play and then see old friends, and Julia actually she's very strong player from Bulgaria and actually from Hungary.
Julia
She's from
Horvath.
Hungarian team, yeah. And
How did
the
it?
game was more or less even, and she's very good. She just made one mistake that we're about to see, but overall she played really well.
How did it feel being back and playing in a team after so many years? Because you were part of the U.S. Olympic team on a number of occasions, and then being back with some of your fellow teammates and maybe some of them also competitors during the years that you were an active player. How did it feel being back and playing alongside them?
Great.
Okay, good.
It's so fun to play in the seniors event. I mean, it's like besides that you get to see people that you haven't seen in, in such a long time, is just good to play with people that they are exactly in the time. Many of them they are no longer active players or professional players, and when you're an older player, there are other things that happen. You get more tired. You don't have the same level of energy. So you're competing with people who are in sort of like on equal, circumstances. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And being in a team, I love team tournaments. Actually, they're so fun.
Is good to hear, and I do like this game. So the position from your game, it's an end game where normally you would say the knight should be better than the bishop in a way, because we have a closed position and you have a lot of pawns on dark squares, but your pawn, you got the pass pawn, which is very important, and you have control over the file, so that keeps you in a way in the game and makes it challenging a bit for white in the position. But as you and I discussed at the beginning, king b1, right, could have somewhat kept the position safe-ish for her,
Yeah.
okay, even.
Yeah.
Because if you play bishop c3, she can try to trade the rooks. Or if
Yeah.
you go rook b7, of course, you would go king c2 and just kind of hold your rook's entrance. But she did play knight to d3 in this position. Do you remember, again, because this was just like, I'm sure you remember, how fast
Yeah.
did
I was
you see that?
surprised when she played that move. I was like, oh, I thought that this game will be a draw. For a long time, I wasn't sure, if I was doing better or worse in the position, but I knew that it was a very small difference. But the key idea was always the file. I mean, I knew my bishop was not as good as her knight, but the file was a determining factor here. So I played bishop c3, and now it's just very easy to win.
Because you get activated, and once you get activated, the rook and the bishop are strong. So she's trying to hold on with knight b2 because the position is close. She probably thought, okay, if we trade everything, the king and pawn endgame. Maybe she thought it was a draw, but you're winning this endgame, right?
Yeah.
You did play h5 first. You're not in a rush when you have your opponent restricted. You don't need to rush to make all the trades. You can try to improve as much as possible. So you went for h5, and she's kind of in zugzwang, so I guess it made things even easier for you here.
She was in a zugzwang position.
Yes.
Yeah, so
After
she
h5.
didn't really have good moves after h5.
Yeah, king here, probably you can take, right? You would have taken
Yeah,
in
I
b2
could. Yeah,
and then bring the king.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's also a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then d3 last move, and this was one of the first things that I learned in a king and pawn endgame. Those pawns separated like that, when you keep them in an L shape, and the king can never take them, so you can pretty much do whatever they want. They can sit back and forth, but thankfully you do have a king that will be advancing and winning, for those of you who are still
They have all the time in the world.
Exactly. They can't, and if they try to go king
Yeah.
c1, then you keep them advanced in a straight line, and it's a win. Of course, the endgame is already winning, but just as an extra tactical idea, or in an endgame that you want to know. And lastly, this last positions from a game that you played from that same tournament, right, against William Hulme?
Yes.
Do you remember which round it was? Was it close to the end?
This was round one, actually.
Ah, first.
This was a team from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was like an icebreaker because obviously we were like first round, and it was nice to start the tournament with a win. I wish I played better. I mean, there's when I feel like, okay, I wish I have more time to prepare and study and play, but you do what you can, it's in the end you have to accept that, it's always a trade-off how you spend your time. uh, yeah.
Coaching and playing or training for stuff are certainly different things, and while you are accumulating way more knowledge preparing all that material for your students, it is different when you have to play on your own and apply. It's much easier to say, I feel, advice to your students, but when you have to apply it on your own and put in the time, sometimes we're lacking it, right? Because you have to have priorities of what's more important. And could you tell me a little bit about how you prepared for the for this specific tournament, if you remember? Did you have
um
at all any training sessions or maybe playing some games before it?
Actually, for the tournament that I played before this one, that was
Mm-hmm.
the US Women's Senior.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first one that was organized in the US in Berkeley, California, by Elizabeth Shaughnessy. It was a cooperation of the Women's Committee and the US Chess. For that tournament, I prepared. I took some private lessons with John Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
He's the world champion in correspondent chess.
Mm.
And yeah, John, actually, I love the way how he looks at the game. I wanted some help with, my own database, but more than anything, we have fantastic conversations, and he helped me prepare some games. I could have probably choose a grandmaster, but John is again my philosophy of connecting with great people. He's a fantastic person, and he's so brilliant, and it was very enjoyable to prepare with him. And he helped me so much in that tournament. Gave me a lot of help, and when I needed to play with somebody. But for this tournament, I didn't have a chance to prepare as much.
Mm-hmm.
I just did tactics every day, and I wish I play a little more. And the openings, because I prepared for the other tournament before that, so and I'm playing very simple openings now, not like before that I have play more main lines. Now I play different, more side lines.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I always do something with chess every day, so I'm not out of touch. It's different when you play. You're right. I think it's much easier to coaching is different. I mean, because you really have to connect and know your students and sort of figure out what they need. But at the same time, when you play, it's all about you. And when you have been doing this for others so much, it's hard to actually do something for you and to be objective. You
That's
can be
right.
more objective with other people, but not with yourself. And so, but also, I think a good coach should play chess.
I
You
love
should.
that you said that. I'm so glad you said that because I believe the same.
Yeah,
Because when
we
you
have to
stay
be
into
able
it.
to relate to the students. I mean, there is so hard, and when the coaches don't have, when they lose that, I mean, that's why sometimes they're hard on the kids. I mean, like if they make a bad decision when in time pressure, or they make a very quick move in a critical moment when they needed to assess more options and look into more details in the position. Um, but then you can really understand what they are going through and the pressures and the dynamics and how your body feels and the emotions. The emotions are the if you play. I mean, you have to put yourself in there. It's a lot of emotions in chess, and it's very intense. It's a very intense sport.
It is. No, I really love that you said that, Beatrice, because basically, like when throughout the years, also chess changes, right? So if you played, 20 years ago and you're not continuing the process and you're not being aware of the different databases existent or Chessable or some other websites that people can use to learn new openings and stay on track with theory. Download your tweaks every Tuesday. I still do that, by the way. Just looking at new games in your openings, to keep aware of what's happening. I think you have a different mindset that doesn't really apply to today. So when you're actually spending the time to train yourself, you can be better for your students,
with your students.
because
Yeah.
you can give them advice, and as you said, their feelings, the stress. You start getting in time trouble, you start moving, you get tired, and those are things that maybe, as a coach, sometimes you forget that those things happen, and you of course want the best for your student, but sometimes you forget all these psychological warfare that they're going through or emotional, warfare that they're going through in a game,
A lot
and
of
you need to.
pressures. Chess is a
Exactly.
lot of pressure, and you
It
have to be
is.
able to handle, no, and especially when you're in a team, it's not just about yourself, it's also your team.
Of course.
There's a lot of considerations, and yeah, it's important. That's why I enjoy playing, but I also make the point to play because of my students. I want to be able to relate and to understand them better. Yeah,
I
that's
love
so true.
that.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, no, I had my moments when I wanted to give up, and then I remind myself that no, if I want to be a good coach, I need to make sure that I still find ways to work, to find the time to put in chess for myself, so that I can be better, to continue being an inspiration, off the board, but also understanding them better and knowing how to guide them to get the best from their own training and games and everything. So and also, of course, something that people maybe are not aware of, and maybe we should mention, is that you don't always have to have the top level grandmaster to coach you. Sometimes, I mean, it is very important to have a good connection with the person that teaches you, because you so just because we are a strong chess player doesn't necessarily mean that we know how to share that information further. And I really appreciate those grandmasters who take the time to learn from other coaches, to learn how they're doing it, and they don't just go and teach moves, but they also teach different mindset, and have a curriculum, have an idea, know how to reduce their level to adjust to the person that they're coaching, because it's more than just being a good player. You also need to be able to relate and connect, and I like the story that you mentioned, that you felt a connection when you got your coach. It was not the grandmaster, but it was just the ability to understand you, that was something that inspired you to choose a coach. And yeah, that is something I want to point out. Let's get back to your game. So in this position, your opponent went for knight takes b5 here, which might not be the best, but the best approach. It's like a Benoni style kind of position. It wasn't really a Benoni, but it was a Nimzo, I think, that you played. But this kind of pawn structure where you're breaking through with b5, and the idea is you're trying to get rid of one of these pieces to get to e4 and give yourself some space and open up the bishop. So probably bishop takes might have been a better choice, but you're ready to go knight d5, you told me, right?
yeah,
And still
that was
open
my
up.
plan. Yes.
And black gets to equalize eventually, but your opponent took with the knight, which gave you the ability to take with the queen, trade off to an endgame where it is white that remains with more weaknesses, I would say.
Exactly. The d5 pawn is weak, and I have a lot of better chances to win this. This is not a win, but it's still now black is a little better, slightly better.
Slightly better. And then your opponent played bishop d2 as normal development move, and then I like this rook b8 because you're there's not so much to do on the A file, but B file is where you want to put the pressure, and you're probably thinking to take here, I think, right? And that's why you
I think
played
that's
it.
what the engine is recommending, but it's the easiest move to take on d5. But I was thinking the same, I was looking at how I can win the game, and I figured that the b pawn it will play a big important role in the position at some point. So if I can capture that pawn, it's a winning endgame. It's a pawn. So
And sometimes prophylaxis, it's really big in chess. It's one of my
that's true.
favorite themes. So you're improving. You're not in a rush. Now that the bishop comes and there's some threat, now you captured. In d5. Your opponent played here, and now I also like this move, rook a4. You could have maybe traded rooks too, but this is a nice move with tempo. And I guess they messed up a bit more here with knight c7. And the finish was
Yeah, she just miscalculated. Yeah,
he missed
he
it. Yeah.
miscalculated, and yeah, so I can take and get into the endgame.
So if you had taken here, you probably would take this bishop, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you take and you got the rook on the right file to win b2.
Trying to win a piece and winning the pawn.
Right. And here, rook a4.
Yeah, I thought about knight takes f3, which
I
is
like this.
another move that wins. But I like the other move better. I think it keeps the tension in the game, and it looks for new possibilities. Exactly.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
And you're keeping this knight restricted a bit from coming to c4,
Exactly.
maybe.
Yeah.
Very nice. And that year you also won a medal with the team. Tell us a bit about that. How did
Oh yeah,
that
okay, we won the second place for the women section. That tournament is we play men and women, they play together, or the open and women we play together. They need at least 8 teams to have a women tournament. Usually they don't get 8 teams, so then we all play together. And so as a consequence, the tournament is very strong. You ended up playing, very, very strong players, and it's really interesting. I also noticed, I mean, there were like 2 games in the tournament that my stamina was not there. That one of the games was that there were draws I ended up losing. That was also an important lesson for me to learn that, that I have to do more work in that regard.
we all have various ways that we can improve, but it just I think being able to go to these tournaments and represent your country and show your students that you are still ready to play for the team and fight and finish in getting a medal. I think it should be an inspiration, and I want to say thank you, congratulations for that, Beatriz. And I've seen
I always say to myself, as long as I have it on me, I will continue doing what I'm doing. And I do. I feel it every day. I'm motivated every day to do well, and yeah, that give me a lot of energy. The motivation that I have to do well. I love seeing the kids winning, but at the same time, I'm more interested in their personal development and their processes and what we can do together, as a team. I think the team concept is very good too, being a good team player. So these tournaments, they make sense from that end too. So I think I will play again.
chess improvement and playing, and the passion never stops. We always have it, whether it is through teaching or playing. Or I think when you have it, you're gonna play forever. So it's great to hear. Beatrice, is there anything else that you would like to say that I know we did not touch on a lot of topics, and I would stay here and talk to you for hours, but is there anything else that I forgot to ask that you'd like to share, or maybe a final advice for the people who are watching, an inspirational quote from you that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I what mostly is that sometimes it sounds like it's a story of success, but I don't believe in failures. I don't believe. I think those are lessons that we need to learn, and when something happens in life, it's always something that we can learn and that can help us to grow as a human being. So yeah, more than anything, I mean, whatever you do, do it with passion, do it with love, and keep doing it no matter what. And if you decide to do something else, it's also okay, as long as it comes from your heart and is what you want to do. And I think, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here with you, Sabina. I really love this time. I appreciate it.
I love talking to you, Beatrice, and I hope I can continue keeping in touch. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, and
Always, always. Thank you for everything, Sabina. You're doing a great job. Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to follow US Chess on all the social media accounts, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.